Hi, this is Roland, and you are listening to Odds and Ends and the Anti-Cancer Soup, which is Chapter 16 of Eat Well, Move Well, Live Well, 52 Ways to Feel Better in a Week, written by me. How eating the parts that most people throw away can be the healthiest way to eat. We have a cancer problem, and the news media think it's all about the meat. Too much meat, too much red meat, too much processed meat, and too much protein. At least so the headlines say. Yes, if you read the select studies, it can appear that higher protein levels can increase some cancer risks. However, it doesn't appear to be the protein or the meat itself, processed or otherwise, that's to blame. Nope, it's lack of a certain amino acid balance in our diet that looks to be the culprit. Specifically, when those amino acids are out of balance, our IGF-1 levels go up, which is what can increase the cancer risk. IGF-1, or insulin-like growth factor 1, is necessary for cell turnover, growth, and healing. But when it gets too high, it's thought to be a contributor to premature aging, shorter lifespans, and to things like cancer growth. Keeping IGF-1 at the right levels certainly has benefits, but what causes IGF-1 levels to rise too high? Spoiler alert, it's not the meat. IGF-1 levels can go higher when we eat more protein, but it's not really the protein, the red meat, or the amount that's to blame. It's the makeup of the protein. I'm not talking grass-fed and pastured versus corn-fed feedlot beef here. I'm not even talking specific animals or even animal versus vegetable protein. It's the part of the animal that we eat that's the problem. Actually, it's more like the parts that we don't eat. It turns out that what kicks up our IGF-1 levels are the ratios between some of the amino acids found in protein. These amino acids, the building blocks of protein, occur in varying levels in every protein source we eat. Muscle meats, our favorites here in the West, are very rich in one of those amino acids. Muscle meats, our favorites here in the West, are very rich in one of those amino acids, methionine, and very low in glycine and choline. That's not inherently bad, unless all we eat is muscle meat. In the industrialized Western world, we tend to eat mostly meats like steaks, roasts, and fillets, all of which are muscle meats, and hike up our Why can't I say this? In the industrialized Western world, we tend to eat mostly meat like steaks, roasts, and fillets, all of which, as muscle meats, hike up our methionine levels higher and higher. In the industrialized Western world, we tend to eat mostly meat like steaks, roasts, and fillets, all of which, as muscle meats, hike our methionine levels higher and higher. We also tend to skip the odds and ends that have historically played a big role in the human diet. Livers, skin, and bones, among other things, used to be eaten more often than not, either directly or in the case of bones, after being simmered into soup. These spare parts tend to contain a large amount of glycine and choline, which would historically balance out our amino acid profile and keep IGF level 1s low. These spare parts tend to contain a large amount of glycine and choline, which would historically balance out our amino acid profile and keep our IGF-1 levels low. Today, as we focus our culinary energy on muscle meat while ignoring the odds and ends, we leave a lot of nutrition on the table, or more likely, in the trash. And that's affecting our health in ways that we are just starting to understand. the latest from the low-fat legacy. When our cultures went low-fat several decades ago, we stopped eating many of the traditional nose-to-tail parts of our food, including the liver, organ meats, and skin. While the loss of healthy fat was kind of a big deal in and of itself, a bigger deal was the loss of the micronutrients and amino acids that are contained within those spare parts. Glycine-rich foods, whether in the form of poultry skin, a salmon skin roll, pork rinds, or bone broth, play an important role and shouldn't be considered spare parts or optional at all. The same goes for liver. Even though I know you probably have bad memories from that liver and onions Mom used to make on Sunday. These extras aren't extras. They are healthy, necessary parts of a nutritious diet. Low protein is not the answer. Some people recommend that we dramatically cut the protein, but protein has too many benefits to pass up. Protein helps in building and maintaining muscle and bone, helps to fill you up faster when you eat, helps you burn extra calories from your food, and has been shown to help dieters stay on track with their diets and increases recovery after a workout. No, eating less protein isn't the best answer, not when there are other, better options. I'll tell you later. Spare parts, bits and pieces, livers, organ meats, bones, bone marrow, and skin. Yuck. At least that's what Americans and many other industrialized cultures say to these foods today. But a trip back in time or around the globe, and you'll find that these items on table I'll tell you later. Spare parts, bits and pieces, livers, organ meats, bones, bone marrow, and skin. Yuck. At least that's what Americans and other industrialized cultures say to these foods today. Oh my gosh. I'll tell you later. Spare parts, bits and pieces, livers, organ meats, bones, bone marrow, and skin. Yuck. At least that's what Americans and many other industrialized cultures say to these foods today. But take a trip back in time or around the globe, and you'll find these items on tables and stoves more often than not. On my last trip to Bulgaria, my friends ordered up platters of unidentifiable meats. Thankfully, chopped small and well seasoned with onions, garlics, and plenty of spices, I ate them without question, at first. When I eventually asked what I was eating, I was told that it was hard to explain in English, but what they really meant was, I'll tell you later. I started to get suspicious, but ate up nevertheless. It turns out I was eating tripe, kidneys, intestines, liver, and hearts. There may have been more things on the platters, but I did not try to find a better translator. I'd heard enough already. I'm an adventurous eater, but even in my case, it sometimes helps to taste first and ask questions later. It also helps to start with the easy stuff and save the rest until you gain more experience. The healthiest cultures in the world eat gross things. But you don't have to eat gross things to eat healthier. There are many glycine and choline-rich foods that I'm sure you will find delicious, like chicken soup, egg yolks, broth, pate, liverwurst, and even pork rinds, or the skin on chicken. Most people love or at least like some of those things, and you just have to eat them more often. Glycine-rich foods ranked from easy to make to harder. Whoa, geez. Here are some glycine-rich foods ranked from easy to make to harder to take. Let's start with easy. Egg yolks. Stop throwing them away and stop buying egg whites. Done. Skin on poultry. Like chicken skin. Skin on poultry. Like chicken skin, the skin of ducks, quail, Cornish game hens, turkey and other birds, pork rinds, and even chicharrones, and even salmon skin. You might notice that most kids just naturally eat the chicken skin until we start telling them to pull it off. So if you have kids, stop telling them. For the rest of us, it's time to start digging in. If you're not used to it, I find drumsticks and wings to be the easiest to start with, and one of the most cost-effective meats on the market. Pork rinds are a tasty snack, but like many snack foods, they can be ruined by artificial flavors and sketchy ingredients. The best pork rinds and chicharron are simply cooked in their own fat, so the ingredients will be things like pork, pork skin, pork fat, and salt. Spicy flavored rinds are also available, but they are harder to find free of MSG and artificial flavors and colors. But do look for them if you like spicy. Salmon skin is often left behind on plates or pans, but that's the best part. Very healthy. Homemade chicken soup or broth simmered with the skin and bones is a great way to get these nutrients. Those are the easy things. Let's look at some medium hard things. Bone broth isn't something we're used to making or eating here in the land of modernity. Most people love broth and stock, but throw in the word bone and suddenly we're turned off. There are a million ways to make bone broth, and whole websites are dedicated to helping you fine-tune the broth, but that's a lot of work and a lot of worry. Keep in mind that Great-Grandma just put it on the stove and simmered it until it was done. She didn't use a digital thermometer, mail-order bones, or artisan spring water. Yes, you can be a bone broth perfectionist, but the difference between pretty good and perfect is going to be minor. Just make the broth and start cooking with it. That was easy and medium. Let's take a look at the harder ones. Organ meats, like liver, liverwurst, pate, and Braunschweiger. I do not like liver, but I grew up eating liverwurst, however, and if it's not clear from the name, it is made of liver. I love it, so I guess I do like liver. That's a dirty trick. It's a good thing that there are ways to eat all the miscellaneous, healthiest parts of the animal as part of a food instead of the food itself. One of the best ways is to take small amounts of the item in question and mix it into foods where it won't be noticed, like chili, sauces, stews, or even meatballs and meatloaf. You can buy sausages made with organ meats online as well. They just taste like regular old sausage. While we're on the subject of meatloaf, our friend Angela Coppola from humansarenotbroken.com has a recipe for burgers that's a great way to secretly introduce liver to the family, and it can be our little secret. You'll find it in the resources section at eatmovelive52.com and in the links below. Your tasks for this chapter. Powerfully increase your nutrition by adding glycine and choline-rich foods to your diet a couple of times per week. Find opportunities to enjoy glycine-rich foods by buying a package of crunchy pork rinds, making a roast chicken and enjoying the skin, or buying salmon fillets with the skin on. Use your journal to plan these foods into your weekly menu and note how they tasted and the recipes you tried. 2. Once you're comfortable with more skin on chicken and fish, go further. Get more choline by eating whole eggs, not egg whites, and shopping in the deli section for liverwurst, Braunschweiger, or pate. You might have to head to a specialty store for a good variety, but it's worth the effort. 3. Become a bone collector. Chicken bones and turkey around the holidays are typically the cheapest and easiest sources for bone broth. Start collecting bones and spare parts from the roast chickens you eat and freeze them in heavy zipper bags until you have enough to fill your pot, Instant Pot, or slow cooker. Start the conversation with your local butcher and see about finding a source of beef, lamb, or pork bones. Mail order is also an option for those ordering their meat in bulk. For a great bone broth recipe, check out the links below or in the recipe section at eatmovelive52.com. Thanks for reading. Thank you for reading Chapter 16 of Eat Well, Move Well, Live Well. Thank you for reading Odds and Ends in the Anti-Cancer Soup, Chapter 16 of Eat Well, Move Well, Live Well, 52 Ways to Feel Better in a Week. Read and written by me, Roland Denzel. For more just like this, head over to the Eat Move Live 365 membership at eatmovelive365.com.